All right, here. All right, here's your question. Feel like I'll never stop my toxic behaviors. How do I truly change and not have this feeling anymore? Well, before I answer this, just want to remind you. I know I get a lot of questions from different people, uh, tons from email, DMs, and of course my podcast. And I'm only one person. I don't have time to answer all of them. I always feel guilty when I don't answer as many questions as I can. And so I built this AI where it funnels all my books, my articles, thousands of articles, hundreds of podcast episodes, and 6 books. So I can answer your question anytime that you want. You could have me in your back pocket. It's only pulling from my content, so they're my answers, not from the internet. So go to my Instagram at the Angry Therapist and tap my bio, and you will see it there front and center. It's not subscription. There is a small one-time payment. So if you can forego a cheeseburger, then you could have me in your back pocket. Anyway, check that out. Okay, so to get back to your question, um, feel like I'll never stop my toxic behaviors, and how do I truly change them? Well, first, like anything in self betterment, I think understanding. So being aware. Here's the order: being aware. So being aware of your toxic behaviors, and I got to say, question yourself on if it is toxic, right? I think sometimes we might jump the gun and stamp something as toxic when it may not be, right? And also, something that may have been toxic for you in the past may not be toxic for you today because you're a different person. So be honest with yourself. Is this truly toxic? A good question, or a good way to know is, how is this behavior affecting your life? Is it affecting your life in a negative way? Is it stunting your growth? Is it hurting other people? Of course, all of that is toxic, or can be toxic. But if it's not, but it's something that you're doing that you just feel guilty about, I don't know. It may not be toxic. So you have to decide: is something truly toxic, or is it not toxic? And if it is toxic, just the awareness of that, just the awareness that, okay, here are some things I'm doing, whether it's eating your feelings or jumping into relationships with people who are not emotionally available, or whatever it is. Here's the behavior that I'm doing that is toxic, or toxic, such an extreme word. It's unhealthy. I do not want to do these things anymore. Okay, so being aware that here are some things that I'm doing that are unhealthy. That's step one. Step two is following the string down. Where is this coming from? So instead of just white, and this is the mistake that I think most people make, instead of just white knuckling behavior. Okay, instead of, like, for example, um, if you're watching porn every day where you can't get stuff done, right, and that's a toxic behavior, then instead of just stopping, because that's probably not going to work, where is it coming from? What is the porn giving you? Why have you become obsessed with or addicted to this behavior? Is it giving you escape? Is it giving you dopamine? Is it giving you some kind of numbing? What is it this thing's giving you? Where is it coming from? What are you lacking? What's the hole inside you? What's the wound that you are trying to escape from, ignore? Um, what is happening inside, right? And so when I say where's it coming from, uh, you have to really sit with yourself, and you have to think about your story, and you have to be really honest with yourself to figure out where this is coming from. And when you get to the source and you discover, oh, it's because I'm lonely, or I feel, lacking in self, or I whatever the reason may be, then that's the part to work on. And when you work on that, then the behavior will change, right? So another example, if let's say you eat your feelings a lot. When you're feeling down, you're in the cupboard, especially late at night, just numbing yourself with Doritos and pancakes and whatever, right? So this is to a toxic behavior. You want to change this. This doesn't make you feel good about yourself. Um, you work out hard during the day, and this is bringing you down, right? This is counterproductive. Also, it's not healthy. You get bloated, whatever. Um, and then with the behavior, there's also it's lined with shame. So it's not just a behavior, because usually the behavior isn't what's truly toxic. What's toxic is our judgment about the behavior, the internalization that because I'm doing this, I am, and you fill in the blank, right? I'm defective. I'm a piece of shit. I'm worthless, right? Like the horrible ways that we talk to ourselves. So you realize you're doing this, and instead of just saying, I'm not going to do it, or making deals with yourself, and some of that could work. You could say, okay, I'm allowed to have um, one snack or one treat, and you could have these negotiations with yourself, which creates some kind of handrail, right? And that's super helpful. But on top of that, I think you really have to explore where this is coming from. So, in this case, if we're talking about eating your feelings, well, it's probably coming from you having anxiety and uncomfortable feelings that you don't want to sit with, like loneliness or fear, or any kind of feeling that makes you feel anxiety, or overwhelming feelings that you maybe can't handle. So then you turn toward the snacks or the cookies or chips or whatever, because that then distracts your feelings and numbs you, gives you some kind of high, right? And so then the prescription would be to actually sit in your feelings and allow yourself to feel. And as a practice, as you get uncomfortable, knowing that it's like a swell that turns into a wave, and that wave is going to pass, and you usually feel the swell, you panic, you get uncomfortable, and instead of letting the wave pass, you usually act out. So in this case, it would be eating, but it could be anything, right? It could be drugs, it could be sex, it could be um, exercise, it could be whatever your escape is, right? You're running away, not toward. And so to run toward self means to sit with the discomfort, to breathe through it, to investigate where it's coming from, and allow that wave to pass. Because once the wave passed, whether it's a craving, a desperate need to run, escape, go somewhere. I mean, some people, their thing is to, excuse me, sorry. For some people, their thing is to just travel, and they don't see it as a problem because traveling is great and that's amazing, until they realize that's their form of escape or running, so they're not able to uh, just sit still. They're running to stand still. That is a song by U2. And if you feel like, okay, that's what I'm doing, and here's the behavior, now let's sit with it, let's sit with the discomfort, and let's actually try to feel some of these things. Okay, I feel lonely, I feel undesirable, I feel unloved, or I feel unattractive, whatever it is. I feel shame, I feel like a failure, I feel whatever. So all these feelings that we have, that we don't want to feel, if you can start to practice, and this is not something that's just going to happen over the weekend, it's something that you really have to practice, to meditate, to breathe, to whatever, sit in ice, I don't know, do whatever it takes to sit with these feelings, and to not allow yourself to internalize or label yourself as less than because you feel this way, but give yourself permission to feel. and see that it is a practice. And at the same time, investigate, right? So you're not just allowing yourself to feel, you're putting on your detective hat and you're investigating, where is this coming from? What happened? And why is my knee jerk escape? How much of this has to do with the trauma I went through, or the unresolved breakup, or, whatever happened in the past? Things happen that we skirt, that we suppress, that we push away, and it always comes back up. And when it comes back up, it manifests in different ways. And one of the ways it manifests is toxic behavior, whether it's behavior that is targeted toward self or toward other people. I mean, you may find numbing, escape, or whatever, not in something you do, but maybe how you love, right? Maybe you can be controlling or possessive, or, so the behavior sometimes isn't towards you, it's toward or at someone else. And so to be aware of that, to be aware of where that's coming from and what you want to change. If you find that you're in a relationship where you can't hold a relationship, meaning it only lasts, I don't know, like there's a pattern of after 3 months you sabotage, right? Or after 3 months you bounce. There's something happening. There's something happening underneath. That's a pattern. Not if this just happens once, but if you notice it's a reoccurring pattern, then you could then label that as possible toxic behavior, and then explore where that's coming from. What's happening as you hit toward that 3 months that is bringing you anxiety and that makes you want to leave. And that may be fear of intimacy. It may be you feel that you don't deserve healthy love. Like it may be a lot of things, right? And so until you figure out what is really happening underneath, it's just trying to change behavior is they're just band-aids, you know. So I would, yes, of course, try to change behavior, but I would more importantly open the hood of the engine and figure out what is happening, what is going on internally. I need to use more periods in my sentences. I, okay, so speaking of behavior, I don't know if this is toxic, but I think I talk fast because of my insecurity of if there are silences, I feel like a fraud, or I feel like I'm not giving you value, or I feel like I need to constantly talk. And some of it is tap dancing. Some of it is, hey, look over here, because I'm buying myself time to think. But I find myself filling air with noise, in this case, my voice, thoughts, randomness. Yes, part of that is my personality, but I do think a part of that is an escape in a way. A part of it is a distraction. Uh, so I would need to, I mean, I don't know if it's toxic behavior, but it is behavior I want to change. And so um, I would need to, when I feel the urge to talk fast and not use periods to, fill up dead air, my practice would be to take a breath and to sit in that silence and be okay with it. So here's the swell, right? I'm sitting in silence. Here's the swell. Swell's coming up. I have anxiety. Oh no, you're going to think that this podcast isn't good. I'm not giving enough information. Shit, I got to start talking. I'm the quote unquote expert. I got to give value, right? All that's coming up. And that's coming from, if I follow that thread down, it's coming from being a C student, feeling like, I got lucky as a writer, right? Because I failed as a screenwriter, not feeling smart. I never felt smart as a kid. So all of those things from my childhood is what's activating me, the behavior of covering up silences, talking fast, talking a lot. And then knowing that and sitting with it. And then there's just like self-parenting piece where it's like, no, John, you're not an idiot. And it's okay to be yourself. And you don't have to talk a lot or tap dance or when I was young, I was breakdancing, and a lot of that breakdancing was to feel special, or to get the applause and approval from the adults or other people that thought a 10-year-old spinning on his head was cute, um, because I felt valuable, right? And so telling myself that I don't have to do that for someone else anymore unless it's something I want to do for me. And the practice of taking a breath, sitting still, and just allowing me to be me. Now, that being said, there is a honest personality side of me that is all over the place and that does bird walk and talk a lot. And some of that is coming from a solid self place. And then some of that, especially when I'm doing podcasting or videos, is coming from a pseudo side, because if I stop talking, the kite goes down. Then you can really see me, and that's terrifying. Anyway, thank you for listening. Be well.